Okay, so we're about to go into scene scene 6, the second last scene for Act 1. And if you turn to page 36, I will give you the summary. Duncan and his entourage arrive at Inverness and stop outside Macbeth's castle to admire the beautiful surroundings. Lady Macbeth greets them and asks them inside. So the stage directions tell us that Duncan and his men are preceded by torches and hautboys, which let us know that this scene begins at night. This castle hath a pleasant seat. The air nimbly and sweetly recommends itself unto our gentle senses. This guest of summer, the temple-haunting martlet, does approve, by his loved mansionry, and the heaven's breath smells wooingly here. No jutty frieze, buttress, nor coign of vantage, but this bird hath made his pendant bed the procreant cradle, where they most breed and haunt. I have observed, the air is delicate. Enter Lady Macbeth. See, our honoured hostess, the love that follows us sometimes is our trouble, which still we think is love. Herein I teach you how you shall bid God ild us for your pains, and thank us for your trouble. All our service, and every point twice done, and then done double, were poor and single business to contend against those honours deep and broad wherewith your majesty loads our house, for those of old, and the late dignities heaped up to them, we rest your hermits. Where's the Thane of Cawdor? We coursed him at the heels and had a purpose to be his purveyor, but he rides well, and his great love, sharp as his spur, hath holp him to his home before us. Fair and noble hostess, we are your guests tonight. Your servants ever have theirs, themselves, and what is theirs in compt, to make their orders at your highness's pleasure, still to return your own. Give me your hand. Conduct me to mine host. We love him highly, and shall continue our graces towards him. By your leave, hostess. Okay, and that's the end of scene 6. So we're going to work quickly through now to look at the meanings of some of this language and some of the themes that crop back up. So the first thing is, I believe the main purpose for this scene at all is not only to show us what's going on, the fact that Duncan has made it to the castle, but to show us immediately that Lady Macbeth is up to her tricks. So she's immediately acting so sweet and almost sultry to him and saying, oh, it's our pleasure to have you, and hiding the fact that she plans on killing him that very night. So we'll start at the beginning. We'll start before line 1 on page 36 at the stage directions that I mentioned. So at the very beginning you heard some music playing, and that was a recording of hautboys, which are these old wooden instruments, and you can see it in your own notes on page 37 on the modern English side that says it is a loud woodwind instrument, the ancestor of the modern oboe, and it's used in outdoor ceremonies. And I think it kind of has a sort of medieval, almost happy sound to it that adds to the irony of this scene. If we look at line 1, Duncan says that the castle hath a pleasant seat. So if you circle the word seat, it means site or location. So you could write the word location there to better understand that line. When we continue down, Banquo mentions the temple haunting martlet. That's line 4. So a martlet is a bird that usually resides in churches. So there's a lot of church-like imagery here, that this is a sacred place and there's a sacred person, the king, entering it. So of course something like a murder would be an awful discretion. The word does approve. Approve there means prove. That's the more modern version of it. And Heaven's Breath, again, continuing that idea of church, a sacred place, heaven, and it being such a sweet place is also ironic because such a horrible thing is going to happen. We'll continue down to lines 13. Duncan is talking to Lady Macbeth here, and he says, God yield us for your pains and thank us for your troubles. And it's a really complicated, almost jovial, grandfatherly way of saying you should thank us rather than us thanking you, because God rewards people who experience pain. So we're doing you a favor by being your guests. And of course, that's meant to be taken in jest. We'll continue down to line 16. Lady Macbeth says, there were poor and single business to contend, which means we haven't done as well as we've done in the past. So she's basically saying, you didn't give us much time, we've done our best, forgive the place for not being as nice as it could be. And then she says at the very end on line 20, we rest your hermits. So we are the ones that pray for you. So she's really putting it on. She's pretending to be that flower when she's really a serpent. We'll go across to page 38, the last page of this scene. And the second line down, so I believe this is line 21, 22. King Duncan says, we coursed him. So he's referring to Macbeth there, which means that we rode quickly after him. So even though Macbeth had said, let me be the harbinger, let me go ahead and speak to Lady Macbeth, they thought, oh, it will be fun, we'll catch up to him. And they rode as fast as they could, and they thought it was odd enough to mention that he was riding so fast that they couldn't catch up. And Duncan says, his great love, sharp as his spur, hath holp him. So holp, H-O-L-P, is an old version for helped, so it helped him. So they think that he was riding so fast because he's so in love with his wife, Lady Macbeth, that he was riding as fast as he could to get home to her. And there's again that irony that's repeated again and again in this scene because it was the opposite of love. It was murder that was making him so fast. If we look at Lady Macbeth in line 27, she says, what is theirs in cont? So in cont means in trust. And again, she's talking at your highness's pleasure. It's that idea of she's his servant. She's harmless, which is hiding her true desires. So one last footnote here. Before you go on to your activities, you need to understand dramatic irony. So I've been mentioning it a fair few times. So just to understand what dramatic irony is, it's when the characters know less than the audience. So we as readers of the play, as well as Shakespeare's contemporary audience, would have understood more than what Duncan knows right now. So we've heard what Macbeth and Lady Macbeth have been saying. We know that they plan on murdering Duncan and that they're pretending to be so nice so that he trusts them. And that's an example of dramatic irony. And so we can see here multiple examples of Lady Macbeth putting on an act of being humble and hospitable in order to earn that king's trust so she can trust him. And we've seen this earlier in earlier scenes as well. And in fact, even at this point, if you wanted to write an early essay, you could write an essay with 3 examples of dramatic irony as a practice if you wanted to.